Since today is tier list Wednesday. Tier list Wednesday does sound bad. We should have done this on a Tuesday or a Thursday. Mistakes have been made, but it is what it is. Just gaslight YouTube into thinking it's Thursday. Okay, if no one narcs, we could make this a tier list Thursday video. Alright, no narcs. No narcs. What's up, YouTube? Another video of Tier List Thursday today. Now we're looking at hand traps. We've already looked at board breakers and decks in general. Now, to finish it off, we're doing hand traps. Just in general, I think hand traps are in a little bit of a tough spot. Some of them are still good though, I believe. I mean, especially, you know, the bestials and stuff like that. I think there's still some merit to playing some hand traps. However, you don't have that much room in most of the decks, especially yugioh tier, but I think it's still worth talking about some of these. Lancea, as a hand trap, it's very mediocre. I mean, as a hand trap, I think it's unplayable. It's just not good against the current decks. However, I've seen some use for it. Like, I've seen people side it with Sanctum to beat evenly matched, and it's okay against Flunder as well. So I guess overall, that makes it mediocre. Ash Blossom, I think if we're comparing Ash Blossom to all the other cards in the game, it's not that good of a card right now. Like, I think a card like Talons is a lot better than Ash. But if we're comparing Ash Blossom to other hand traps, I think it's definitely a decent hand trap overall. Sometimes it's fine to negate stuff like Pearl of Rhino, but it's specifically good to negate stuff like the Mill 5 in Tierlements. It feels bad having to Ash like a random graveyard effect like this, but like being able to negate Mill 5 turns out to be quite strong, because like the Mill 5 is equal to something like a +2 on average, so like preventing that with Ash is like solid. Where's Havnis? Where's Orange Light? Where is Kelbeck? I mean, okay, I'm talking about hand traps in general. Like, we don't have to talk about, yeah, Havnis is good in Tierlements. Yeah, Herald of the Orange Light is good if you play freaking yugioh cards. I'm talking about that this list is in general. I guess Kelbeck could be considered a generic hand trap, but it's not that good as a generic hand trap. I'm talking about the general population of hand traps, because no one needs advice, dude. No one needs advice. Should I put 3 Herald of the Orange Light in my yugioh deck? Should I put 3 Havnis in my yugioh deck? We don't need advice on that. No one needs advice on that. That's not helpful. Anyways, Ash is decent. Bell, let me put this in experimental / alt-right is what I'm gonna name this category. And I think Bell goes into that category. I guess there's a couple of graveyard hand traps. I think Skullmeister is decent. I think DD Crow and Bell are alright. These three kind of do similar things. DD Crow, I have to put it in decent. I reconsidered. The thing about DD Crow is that you have to be aware is that like DD Crow is just worse than Bestials. I guess we could call this one good, and then this one is decent. Right? I think that's a better way to put it. Yeah. DD Crow and Skullmeister are good hand traps. I think Skullmeister specifically is good because it stops the Mill 5. Right? That's why it's better than Bell, right? Bell does not stop the Mill 5, and if they get to Mill 5 cards, then they can easily chain block around Bell, right? That's the problem. Skullmeister stops everything. Skullmeister stops Agido, Kelbeck. It also stops Mudora and Keldo if you want to prevent that. The only downside to Skullmeister and Crow, they are darks, which is annoying because they can like dark for it and then make sprint. That can be annoying. At the same time, both of them also are not once per turn, which sometimes is an upside. You know, Skullmeister 1700 attack. Sometimes you need that to run over like a freaking barrier statue, where like Bell and Crow are pretty dead against Flunder, but Skullmeister, sometimes you can attack over statue and that might be good. These two are solid. Bell is like not bad. I just don't think you ever really play Bell if you can already play 9 Bestials, Crow, Skullmeister. Like if you really want to, just play all those. I don't know, it's better than Bell. Chaos Hunter, I don't see a reason to play Chaos Hunter right now. Honestly, Runic is not going to be a big thing. Not good against Sprite. Not good against yugioh tier. No matter what people tell you, don't believe them. This card is not good against yugioh tier. People have been saying, oh, can I play Chaos Hunter to prevent Keldo and Medora? No, you can't. It's awful. It's not good against yugioh tier. The only matchup it's good against is if you play Mannequin Cat in Sprite and you want to be fine against Shifter. Then you can play 1 Chaos Hunter in your side deck against Shifter with Mannequin Cat. Other than that, don't play Chaos Hunter, please. Cherries, I think Cherries is a weird one. It doesn't have the same like flexibility and utility as these other hand traps, because the goal with these ones is they usually are very good in most matchups. They're good going first and second, at least most of them. And like Cherries is not that. Cherries is like mostly for tier and Sprite, and then mostly only going second, because you're gonna have a board going first. But it's a good hand trap. It's one of the hand traps that if you draw it alone to hit Kid Colors, it can actually be enough, right? It's actually a good card. I don't know if you would ever main deck it, but it's definitely a solid side deck hand trap. Get rid of Kit Kalos, get rid of Sprite Elf, that's strong. Can't deny that. Also, you have to consider, if you hit Kit Kalos with this, you also essentially eliminate Rule Kalos from the extra deck, because that needs Kit Kalos, so that's pretty nice. Token Collector is unplayable. No one plays Sword Soul right now, and even if they play Sword Soul, they probably lose, so like, don't play Token Collector. Contact C, we've talked about it in the Tech Talk against Ishizu sprites. I think Contact C is a solid option. I'm not convinced by it yet, that's why I'm throwing it into experimental. Once again, the idea with Contact C is not that they cannot play under it, right? The idea is not that you summon this to their field and they can't play. They can link it off, and they will link it off, because they can just make Dark or Asa with, or even something like Beatrice. The only cool thing about this is that it stops them from fusion summoning, because there is no fusion that can be made with Contact C. And so what you do is, if they go for something like the Kit Kalos Merly play, where they go for the mill 8, they go Kit Kalos effect, send itself, summon Merly, and then they go Chainlink 1 Kit Kalos, Chainlink 2 Merly, or the other way around, doesn't matter. You can respond to it with Contact C, summon Contact C to their side, and now whatever they mill, they can mill 8, they can even mill 10 more with Agido and Kelbeck, it doesn't matter. Whatever they mill in that moment, Tierlements cannot trigger to fusion summon. Impossible, because you cannot fuse under Contact C, right? So the idea is not that it wins you the game on the spot because they can't out it. The idea is more that you disable that big mill that they get sometimes and make it so they can't hit anything from it, which is okay, I guess. Like, if that happens, if they go mill 8 and you have a Contact C, I would think that's nice, because it can potentially stop them from hitting like 2 or 3 names and really popping off. Kind of okay in that sense. Is that better than just playing Bestials, Crow, Skullmeister? Probably not. Is that better than imperming the Kit Kalos on the spot? Also probably not. You can try it. Maybe you end up liking it. I don't think it's better than others, but yeah. This one I don't think has merit here. I don't know why it's still here. The Spell Negator also not playable. Gamma is a good card as always. Whether you want to main deck Gamma is up to you. Of course, it's bad going first most of the time. You have to play the River for it, which I always hate to do. It's a good side deck card though. Overall, it's definitely good. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the freaking Dogwood might actually be playable in this format, because freaking Ishizu tier takes forever to resolve the first turn. Like, it's crazy how long these games take sometimes. And like, the thing is, like, if game 1 takes super long and you lose game 1, everyone is playing a card for time at this point. So if you lose game 1, and even if you win game 2, game 3, they're just gonna go first in time and burn you or gain life, and you lose. So Dogwood might genuinely be like the literal only way of winning game 3, realistically, if it gets close to time. The card is never going to be main decked, but it might actually be okay. No Material I don't think is very good. I don't see a great use for it unless you know something that I don't. I don't think No Material has any particular use this format, especially because, you know, so bad going first. Imperm, I believe, out of all these hand traps, is one of the better ones. I think Imperm can definitely be considered very strong because it doesn't play into talents, it doesn't play into Call by the Grave. In that regard, it works in the draw phase if they go branded in High Spirit. Some people play that still. Works on your turn as a 6th card. You can still negate like Sprite Elf in the draw phase or something like that. That's still pretty good. Imperm is like the new Ash Blossom in terms of flexibility and how good the card is. Just an all-around very strong card. Let's put Veiler and Mourner together. Both of those I would put as good hand traps. It's simply because of how good it is to negate Kit Kalos, right? Kit Kalos does so much for the Tearlament deck. It's genuinely insane how much Veiler, Mourner, and Imperm can prevent by hitting Kit Kalos. Kit Kalos is just insane, and just negating that effect is pretty nice. Mourner doesn't really work. Like, some people in chat are saying it works when they play on your turn. It doesn't really do that because it triggers first and then they chain to it. Not very good, right? It's pretty bad on your turn because of how trigger effects work on your turn. They should have made it a quick effect, then it would have been better. But it's mostly for the opponent's turn. The only upside, I think, of Mourner is that it works against something like High Spirits in the draw phase, right? Which I don't know how relevant that is. I think for the most part, Veiler is going to be the better card than Mourner. But there might definitely be, if you play a heavy hand trap deck, right? If you're Paulo, you might want to play all 3. It's fine to play all 3. Nibiru, straight up mediocre. Tearlaments has Rule Kalos now to negate it. Sprite has Gigantic Sprite to prevent it. Flunder doesn't care about it. Those are the top 3 decks moving forward. Card is good against Rogue, that's it. I don't even know if you would ever want to side deck this card. It's only good if you pair it with effect negation. Like you need Valor or Imperm with it, or like Gamma to make it work, but even then, it's not worth it. It's not a good hand trap, this format, unfortunately. It's just like they made Nibiru to stop people from spamming the board, and then they gave every single deck right now a way to just play around Nibiru or negate Nibiru, so they kind of made it irrelevant, which is weird. But yeah, don't play Nibiru. Ghost Ogre, it's not good against Tearlaments, I believe. I don't see a good scenario against Tierlaments. Like, it only hits something like Dragostapelia or Redoer, which that's never your #1 concern if you're playing against Tier. It's decent against Sprite and Flunder. Like, hitting Flunder map feels nice. Hitting Gigantic can be okay if they don't set up red, which is why I could see this card being a side deck card. Like, if you build your main deck to hard counter Ishizu Tier really hard, and then you are really worried about a card that hits both Sprite and Flunder, maybe Ghost Ogre is a solid choice. I don't think it's better than a mediocre card though overall. But be aware, it could be a solid side deck card against Flunder and Sprite. My love, Phantasme is not playable. Retaliating Sea is not playable. No deck really uses spells to trigger this. I mean, you can like use it on Sprite starter, but nah. Don't think we have to talk about that one. Card is good. I hate the card, but if your deck can play Shifter this format, play Shifter. Jolan Lockbird, mediocre, simply because it's not good against Ishizu Tier. Could be a side deck card, decent against Flunder, okay against some Sprite variations, although not very good, maybe good against some other Rogue. Overall mediocre though. And then last but not least, we have these guys down here, Bystials, which I'm freaking in love with Bystials. I'm gonna put Magnamut, Druid Worm up here, and I'm gonna put Saronir here. Saronir is the worst of the 3 by a decent amount, so I'm not putting it into the same category as the other 2, because there's definitely a level between these cards. I'm putting these above Shifter, even though, I mean, against Ishizu Tier, you would rather have Shifter, but these are more generic. Almost every deck can play Bystials. Not every deck can play Shifter. However, the Bystials are still incredibly strong. Magnamut, of course, the best one. Druid Worm, the second best one. Still really, really powerful for breaking boards. And Saronir, honestly, I've been playing Saronir in decks like Sprite. Even without a freaking target in the deck to send from Saronir, I've been using the card just as a level 6 body DD Crow against Tearlaments. Bystials have been that good for me in testing that I've even gone as far as playing Saronir in my Sprite deck, in addition to maxing out on Magnamut and Druid Worm, right? That's not even speaking of the pure Bystial decks, or the decks that play the full engine with like the Bystial Lubellion and the Branded Beast Trap, or like targets for Saronir to send to the graveyard, like Branded Retribution or whatever. Bystials are just overall great cards in almost every single deck. I think they deserve to be in these spots for sure. That wraps up the hand trap tier list. Once again, Orange Light, Havness, and Kelbeck are not included here because they only go in Ishizu Tier, and yes, they are good in Ishizu Tier, of course, dude. Orange Light is a no-brainer. If you have fairies to discard with graveyard effects, negating a monster effect and destroying the card is good. Take notes. For the generic hand traps, I think that wraps it up. As always, if you want to see me do these live and discuss with me, you know, Twitch link is in the description below. If there's a hand trap that I was missing in this video, drop it in the comments and I'll tell you what I think about it. And I hope you found this helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you next time, and bye bye, YouTube. Peace. Say goodbye to YouTube, chat.